Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jed Lee, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so excited that you're part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Podchaser, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Derek Taylor Kent. He is here to tell us about his brand new book, Dinosaur Derby. Before Derek joins us to tell us all about the fun we're going to have reading Dinosaur Derby, I want to let you know about another fun book that you and your kids will love. It's called Big City Dance, and it's written by Virginia Doherty. Mo Doodle is a country mouse who decides to move to the big city in search of excitement and adventure. And although he finds plenty of fun, he soon realizes that he's homesick and he's missing his friends. This tale is told in a bouncing rhyme and rhythm with incorporated dance movements for young listeners and readers. Discover how Mo solves his problems while exploring and living in the big city. Big City Dance by Virginia Doherty is ideal for children 3 years old and up. Check it out today. It's Big City Dance by Virginia Doherty. Joining us on the line right now from the beautiful Southern California area. I just love SoCal. I had such a great time out there in October. And one of the reasons I had such a great time is I got a chance to spend a little bit of time with our guest today. He's back to talk about a brand new book called Dinosaur Derby. Please welcome back to the show, Derek Taylor Kent. Derek, how are you?
I'm doing good, Jed Lee. Thank you.
Derek came to my rescue. I had this beautiful brand new Reading with Your Kids banner with the Bear family on it, and our announcement that we were nominated for the iHeartRadio Best Kids and Family Podcast Award, and then I didn't have anything to hang it up with. But Derek came through and let me borrow some tape and some adhesive, and it saved the day.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize I saved the day, but my tape is your tape, Jed.
There you
Anytime.
go. Well, tell us all about Dinosaur Derby, please.
Oh, this is going to be my 14th book.
Wow.
So excited. So this was a book that I kind of had as an idea. I've always wanted to do a dinosaur book because I've loved dinosaurs since I was a kid, but it kind of never really stopped for me. I loved fossils and fossil hunting. I even made sure when I was in college, I took all the dinosaur classes that my college offered because I loved it so much. And as part of the class, they would take us out on fossil hunts in the area so we could actually find, kind of real, mostly ice age fossils.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I've never written a book about it. And like at all these book events we do, like at the OC Children's Book Festival and other ones like that, parents and kids would always ask me if I had any dinosaur books. The kids love dinosaurs so much. I'm like, yeah, why haven't I written a dinosaur book? I love them so much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I guess I could never really think of the right angle for it. Something that all the other authors haven't done. So there's a lot of dinosaur books out there, right?
Mm-hmm. There
are. But then I kind of just had a title kind of popped into my head, which was Dinosaur Derby.
Yeah.
I was like, that's like racing cars and dinosaurs. That's something that like kids also love, and combining them. And I told my idea to my wife, Sherry, who you've had on your show many times, of course. Sherry Fink, and she wouldn't let that idea go on me. She's like, you have to write it. You have to write it. You have to write it. And, to inspire me, she even took me on a fossil hunt in Utah last year.
Wow. Well, you're a very wise man to listen to your wife for more reasons than one. I mean, that is the first thing I always tell anybody who gets married is listen to your wife. They know much more than we do.
Yes, her instincts are pretty much always right on.
Yeah. So I'm guessing Dinosaur Derby, we're going to see some racing dinosaurs.
That's right. So after the fossil hunt, I started really going in my head how I would create this book, and I wanted to have it be rhyming because that's sort of my strength. I just love the challenge of having to combine science with rhyming. I've done it before with Simon in the Solar System, my astronomy book. That's also in rhyming verse. So I wanted to kind of continue my what I'm known for by kind of combining STEM concepts with with lyrical verse. Sherry and I also did that in our book Counting Sea Life that we co-wrote together. So I took that idea with dinosaurs, and I also wanted to come up with as many crazy, wacky vehicles as I could that they would be racing in, while also combining facts about the dinosaurs that the kids would learn about on this crazy race. So we start off with the big dinosaurs. We find out how much they actually love to race. There's a secret underground racing culture in dinosaurs that no one knows about. I oftentimes call it Fast and the Furious meets Jurassic Park. So it's pretty easy to just get it from that.
There you go. Yeah. Well, that's real important. If you're doing a movie treatment or whatnot, you got to get that idea out there in the first sentence.
Exactly. It's oh, okay, I get it. I don't need to say anymore.
Yeah. Well, one of the things about your books is that they are really lyrical. And a lot of authors, I think, they just think, oh, we just have to rhyme. It doesn't matter if there's a beat and and it's easy to read. We just have to rhyme every other line. But you approach your books and your book writing in a similar way that a songwriter kind of takes a look at his work.
Yes, I'm kind of a stickler for meter and rhythm. I fell in love with it kind of when I was in high school, when I kind of got re-obsessed with Dr. Seuss. And when I started writing my first rhyming books, I had a teacher in high school in my creative writing class. And he looked at it and he's like, you need to read Dr. Seuss. I was like, why? Because well, you have this real knack for rhyming and these creative, wacky things, but it's all over the place with the meter and rhythm, which makes it hard to read and makes it feel very clunky. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, okay. I never really thought about that. I didn't really know. I learned about it in school a little bit, but it's not like they spent a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
So I went back and I was like, oh, wow. All of his books have the same exact rhythm. It's da 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 da. And to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street. Now that is a story that no one can beat. And to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street. It's like a song. It has this beat to it that you can't get away from. It's in all of his books. It's the same exact thing. My other favorite one's If I Ran the Circus.
Yeah.
I used to keep that by my side at all times when I was writing so I could refer to it. In all the whole town, the most wonderful spot is behind Sneelock's store in the big vacant lot. It's just the right spot for my wonderful plans, said young Morris McGurk, if I clean up the cans. I even memorized it. I loved it so much.
Yes, you did. Now, if a writer is listening to this, and we do have lots of authors who listen to the show, what would be the first piece of advice you would share just to kind of get a metronome or just to get a beat in your head as you're putting your rhymes together?
I think I don't need a metronome because there's lots of different meters and rhythms you can use. I think it's good to stick with one once you find it, Mm-hmm. You can learn how to annotate poetry with the feet and accents. So the stresses on it.
Yeah.
So that's something that you can learn to do to find out where the stresses are in each word to make sure that you're sticking to the right thing. Like in iambic pentameter, it's, up, down, up, down, up, down. That's what Shakespeare would use in all of his sonnets. Mm-hmm. And they're all 10 syllables each. So you also have the same amount. Of syllables if you're doing it that way, but you don't have to. A lot of times you can do things that are in, like Emily Dickinson style, which are, I think they're 6/8 syllables, or, haikus, of course, have their own specific syllables. In Dr. Seuss, it's kind of every line is 11 or 12 syllables long. Mm-hmm. But they're all still on that same rhythm. It just depends where the stress is on the end of the line, if it's 11 or 12 syllables. So there's lots of different things. I would just read a bunch of different poetry that sticks to a certain structure and rhythm. There's lots of things you can do. For Counting Sea Life, for the younger kids, we have it be a little bit shorter. Mm-hmm. And for the longer ones, like Dr. Seuss's longer books, they tend to be a little bit, lines tend to be a little bit longer. So I think it's just you find one that works best for your audience and find books that match it. Yeah. And read it out loud to yourself to make sure that it's easy to read, and also give it to other people to make sure it's easy for them to read out loud.
I think that's one of the things that folks might forget to do, is to just read it out loud, which is kind of interesting, since most children's authors imagine that their books are going to be read out loud to kids.
Right. It's important, I think, even to have others read it out loud, because a lot of times you write it yourself, you imagine in your head, you hear it a certain way. So it's very easy for you to read, but give it to someone else, you might find them tripping over it, trying to read it. So yeah. I think it's to have others read to make sure, because if it's on meter, anyone can, the mind will pick it up right away and it'll flow very easily.
Now, I have to ask, were you able to find words that rhymed with dinosaur?
Oh, yeah. I found a whole bunch. That was one of my most fun challenges.
Can you share a couple with us?
Yeah, definitely. For instance, there was one I wanted to rhyme with was Ankylosaurus was one of the dinosaurs I talked about, which was a dinosaur that had very heavy plates on it. It had an armor. So it liked to ride I decided to give it roller skates. Every dinosaur has its own thing that it's racing on. So something burst out from the forest. It's armored dino, Ankylosaurus.
That's awesome. Awesome.
How does it move with heavy plates? It sings, I groove on roller skates.
Yeah. Oh.
Added a little bit of facts about the dinosaur with some funness about the vehicle with all of the rhymes.
That's wonderful. Now, I have to ask, my favorite dinosaur growing up, and it's the one I used to ride to school, was a Stegosaurus. Is there a Stegosaurus in Dinosaur Derby?
One of the first ones.
Oh, awesome.
I think the little section goes, it starts off with a Triceratops, and he's the first ahead. And then it goes to the Stegosaurus line. From behind, here comes a suitor. It's Stegosaurus on a scooter.
Well, I'm just imagining, a family reading this together, and it sounds like this is and one of the great things about writing in rhyme, we've talked about on the show, especially a book, a rhyme that has that meter and rhythm that a kid can pick up on, is that they'll be memorizing this book and finishing and reciting it and finishing the sentences really, really quickly. And that gives them a real sense of empowerment, giving them the sense that, hey, I'm starting to read and I'm going to be able to do this.
Yeah, I think so. And just the rhyming helps them understand words in a different way and how they can connect to each other and how they can be fun. And I think an interesting thing about rhyming is that kids love predictability, right? Why they love to read the same books over and over and over again. They can't, even though they know what's going to happen, they love that the same thing happens over and over and things don't change. There's a sense of permanence to it. And the rhyming actually inherently gives books that feeling of predictability where they can guess what word is coming next.
Yeah, and it's so they love it, and then it's so very important too because like I said, it just suddenly the kids went from I can't do this, I need my parents to do this to suddenly getting a sense of I'm going to be able to do this.
That's right.
Yeah, tell me, you're talking to us. This is your 14th book. That's just an amazing accomplishment. Where and this inspiration came from both you and your wife, with your wife giving you a great big push, and that's awesome. Now that you've written 14 books, is it more difficult for you to come up with ideas and concepts for books, or is it the opposite? It's like a muscle, and I've been working this muscle for a long time, and it really is in shape.
Fortunately, I have I keep a pretty big, what I call an idea log, which is a whole just document that's full of nothing but ideas for books that I have. And I'm extremely backlogged. I have at least several lifetimes of books in this thing. So I am not, it kind of depends it is tough to decide what to do next though, and try and find something that I'm passionate about, enough that I can sit down and write it. Mm-hmm. I've done a lot of picture books coming up, so I'm looking forward to jumping back into chapter books. That's kind of what I'm most known for, is my Scary School series.
Yep.
Which is more for the ages of, 8 to 12. But I think for a couple of years now, I've been focusing on picture books, getting those out there. All those ideas out, and sometimes new ones come up I didn't plan on, like Dinosaur Derby.
Yeah. Now, I'm curious. You have this great treasure trove of ideas that you've written down, and I imagine some of them might come to you, in the middle of the night or just before you go to bed, and you write it down. You ever pick up that book of ideas and kind of thumb through and come upon an idea and look at it and go, what in the world was I thinking of when I wrote that down?
Yeah, that definitely happens a lot. There's probably a bunch on there that are never going to see the light of day.
Well,
again, if I can think of any off the top of my head, but I have another thing that I do are my bilingual books, and a lot of times my plans, like I would have a definite plan for something. Like I had about 6 or 7 books in the El Perro con Sombrero series planned out. And the second one just came out last year, and I thought, oh yeah, my plan's going to be to release one every 6 months, because this is probably my most popular books of all my books. Mm-hmm. But no, my plans are changing on that, so we're probably putting that on hold for a few years till the next El Perro, because there's so many other ones that I'm much more excited about right now. So things get put on the back burner all the time. Things are at the front of the line, get moved to the back of the train inevitably. Well,
it's important to be passionate about what you're writing. If you want your readers to be passionate about your books, you need to be passionate as you're writing it. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, how much of a challenge is it, or do you write El Perro con Sombrero in rhyme? And if you do, how much of a challenge is that to rhyme in Spanish?
Oh, good question. So the El Perro con Sombrero series does not rhyme in English, but there are sections in it that actually rhyme in Spanish. Okay. And so when I do my presentations at schools, I love to tell the kids that if you're learning Spanish, you'll get to find all these hidden sections that rhyme that give them a little incentive to learn their Spanish. Awesome. So for instance, when our main character in that series, Pepe, becomes a movie star, he gets to play all these different characters. He plays a perro vaquero, a cowboy dog. Uh-huh. He plays a romantic singer, cantante de bolero. He eats a habanero pepper, chile habanero, and he makes a lot of money, mucho dinero.
Yes. Awesome stuff. I many years ago, I was touring Puerto Rico with my educational magic show regularly. And that was back in the days where I thought, in addition to magic, I was going to be Rap Master Jedley. And so I had these rap songs that had great messages in them, and they were all in English. And then I was going down to Puerto Rico. I said, well, I got to translate these songs into Spanish. And I've got a professional translator, and the rap song came back, and it wasn't even close to rhyming. So I had to sit down with my beautiful wife, and we made it work. But boy, that was a challenge.
Yeah, I don't know how. That'd be a very unique challenge, actually write something that rhymes in English and any other language, I guess.
Well, you just you can't translate exactly. You just have to go. Okay,
you could just both languages. Yes, I've done that a couple of times in poems where I just couldn't find the right word to rhyme in English, so I would just make one of the words in Spanish for Italian. I actually studied Italian and Latin as well.
Wow.
Just kind of mix the languages for the word I need, and you'd have to look it up to figure out what it means.
Well, one of the things I did is I felt very comfortable substituting. So if I was singing in English, that I love someone like I love chicken pot pie. In Spanish, it became Yo te amo igual sopa pollo. So I love them as much as I like chicken soup. So little changes, same meaning. I guess a lot of books have done that. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about, the last time you were on the show, you were here talking to us about the grossest picture book ever written. I hope I didn't mangle the title too much, but
you got it.
What's folks' reaction to that book? Because that was a great idea for a picture book.
That book was the surprise hit of the season for us. So me and Sherry have our company, Whimsical World. Mm-hmm. And so we each release several books a year. And I definitely did not know what the reaction was going to be for that book. I thought it could go either way, where people would love it or they would hate it. And it ended up selling out in its first month. The first printing sold out in the first month. We ran out of books.
What a wonderful problem to have.
Yeah, it was like we couldn't keep enough in stock. There were so many were selling on Amazon, and at school visits they were selling like crazy. And for the most part, I think that the reaction was very positive to it. Luckily, where people my whole idea with that book was to get kids to fall in love with reading through laughter. Mm-hmm. So a lot of kids love potty humor. A lot don't, which is fine. But I noticed how much that made, especially like my little cousins and nephews laugh. So I wanted to write a book that would just make them laugh like crazy, that inspire them to want to fall in love with reading, to start reading a lot of other books. Luckily, that seems to be the reaction that most are getting, that they laugh every page multiple times, and that's been a great boon to making them excited about reading. But I definitely got some of the negative reviews. People thought, no, this goes way over the top, too gross. And I was like, sorry. I actually ended up changing a few parts for the second printing, because I realized, that did go a little bit too far. So if you have a first printing of the book, it can become very valuable, because it's a bit grosser than all the subsequent printings will be.
I'm wondering, are you inspired to write an even grosser picture book ever?
The second grossest picture book ever?
Yes.
Yeah. That is in the idea log. Yes,
all right,
that is
all
there.
Right, all right.
So you might see that one day.
Well, you mentioned that you and your wife have this wonderful company, the Whimsical World. Tell us where we can find that website online, and where we can find all of the great books by Sherry Fink and Derek Taylor Kent.
Thank you. Our website is whimsicalworldbooks.com, and we're doing a really fun update to the website too. That's going to make it really fun and interactive for kids coming up. Right now you can definitely get all the books on there. And the great part about going through our website is that you can actually get books customized, where they're signed and personalized, to give it that personal touch. If you want to get a special gift for someone, or for yourself, you can actually write to us with a message you want inside, or just have the person's name, and then you can get a signed book. So if you order through Amazon, you're just going to get a regular old unsigned book that anyone can get. But we always give it a personal touch, and we throw in some goodies into every package you order from us to make it special.
And that really can be special. Imagine how excited, if you found the grossest picture book ever at a bookstore, at a book fair, or you ordered it on Amazon, and your kid fell in love with it, and your kid fell in love with the writing of Derek Taylor Kent, and you said, well, my kid loves this. I have to go out and get Dinosaur Derby for my kid. And not only do you get Dinosaur Derby, but you get a note for your kid in the book signed by Derek. That would be an amazing gift.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sherry's books also are wonderful. They all are social emotional learning books that help kids build their self-esteem and self-confidence. And she writes special messages inside each one of her books to help inspire them.
Yeah, and if you have forgotten, Sherry is absolutely my favorite mermaid.
That's right.
That's right. We've had a blast speaking to the author of the brand new picture book, Dinosaur Derby, Derek Taylor Kent. Derek, thanks so much for being back on the show.
Thank you for having me, Chad.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Becca Eisenberg. She is going to talk to us about language during mealtime. That's the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. If you are the author of a fantastic children's book, we would love to have you on the podcast. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, and it gives you the chance to tell thousands of people about your fantastic book. All you need to do is to go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the contact button that you'll find at the bottom of the page. Let us know about your great book. We will let you know the next easy steps. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so very wonderful. Of course, I want to thank our guest, Derek Taylor Kent. Be sure to check out Dinosaur Derby. Also want to thank my incredible team. Of course, my amazing producer, Fatima Khan. I want to thank my awesome author, Ambassador Peggy Cotto. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. But most of all, I want to thank you. You are the most important part of this team. You are your child's first and best teacher. We are so happy that we're able to provide some support and some resources for you, especially during this very difficult time in human history. Please continue to listen to the show. Please connect with us on social media. Facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at JedleyMagic on Twitter, and at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram. Most of all, please know how thankful I am that you are helping to make the world a better place. You do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading With Your Kids podcast.